There have been a number of events that have happened in the last 2 or 3 months which have led to this. Me doing Hatfield squats out of the blue, right? Well, it's like a domino effect, right? You think of one thing, leads you to a positive outcome, and then something else gets discovered. You open another door, you go into that room, you see another door in that room, and that's kind of how discovery happens. It's not from a mile away, you snipe at the idea from like 1,000 meters. No, it's not like that. You run 10 meters and you see some more information, run another 10 meters, collect another bit of information, and that's kind of how it goes. And it's up to you to determine what to do with that information every 10 meters. It's not a 1,000-meter pop headshot from 1,000 meters. It's not like that. It's multiple different ideas along the way. So the 180 for 13 happened purely because of a discovery around the glute medius TFL, or mainly the hip abduction idea. I was watching a video some 3 months ago now, and the guy was talking about hip pain and how he kind of treated his, and it was around the hip abduction weakness. So I made a video about this. I laid down on the mats that I have in the gym, and I had my son, I would lay down on my side, abduct my leg, and my son would just one-handed push my leg down as I'm resisting as strong as I can. And my son, who is 7 years old, could one-handedly just very easily lower my feet to the ground, or my foot to the ground. So I failed the leg abduction test. I was very, very weak. And so that kind of led me down the track of training the leg abduction. Lying, standing, banded, non-banded, bent, not bent, holding it there, pulsating it there, all sorts of different ideas. And that kind of led me to what you just saw here, Hatfield squats. Now how? Well, in my abduction journey, I realized that doing normal reps, just pumping away, was good, but eventually I tried holding it there. And I found that abducting it, and right at the most furthest point out abduction, I had very, very difficult time holding my leg up there. I could abduct the initial bit, but then right at the top, as my leg is fully abducted, I have no strength at all. I couldn't even hold my leg up, standing or side lying. So then I thought, oh, that's interesting. Isometric strength seems to be a limiting factor to me. And so I did that for a little while. I did it for a few weeks. I got good results. I started getting stronger and stronger, and eventuated with the 180 for 13, right? And I kept exploring, kept thinking about it. And then in the last 2 weeks, I've trained very poorly. Initially the deload, and then I got sick. Today is kind of the first time I wanted to do something a little bit heavier, and it got out of hand, to be honest with you. I started doing, this is 240 kilos on the Hatfield squats. I didn't plan that in the session, but I kind of got carried away with my thoughts. I knew I couldn't breathe very heavy because my lung is full of shit. So I thought maybe if I load some weight up and do it for maybe 5 reps, I can avoid the heavy breathing that a 10 or 15 or 20 rep set would cause. Then I thought, well, maybe that's going to be the reality for me for the next few weeks as my lungs clear up, and obviously cold weather, and yeah, there's a lot of things there. The way you train in summer is not the way you train in winter. So in the last few days before I tried the Hatfield squats, I started messing around with isometrics, all sorts of isometrics. I even did 90-degree bicep curls with a barbell, holding it there for a minute. I did that. Then I read something about Bruce Lee and some other individuals who are doing isometrics. I'm thinking about my isometrics with the hip and why it's making me feel bad or weak and making me feel good. All these sorts of things. And eventually I started doing what you see here. I started doing holds of the leg extension. And that feeling was like a nail in the head, hitting a nail in the head with a hammer. Initially, when I started doing this, it was reproducing my hip pain. So I have no problem repping the leg extensions, but holding it at the top with a straight leg, oh my God, the exact pain returns. Initially, it wasn't with lightweight, but then as I started loading it up, I think this is 40 kilos. A few days ago, I started doing it. I'm like, man, what's wrong with my hips now? All of a sudden hurting. And I was like, man, maybe there's something to do with the tendons. So when you do isometric training, you're basically training your tendons in a way. This is a very, very good method of training tendons. Holding that position, any position, trains the tendons. So then I connected the dot. I'm like, oh, okay, so maybe that's the story there. Maybe it's the fact that I have weak tendons around the hip, and I'm thinking, why would the leg extension produce that? Or maybe it's the rectus femoris and not the TFL. They're very, very, close by in proximity. Today, then I thought, okay, what are other phases of training? Well, there's the isometric, which I just talked about. There's the concentric, which most of us use, right? And eccentric. But then I thought to myself, what is the strongest phase of our movement? It's the eccentric. But we never really get after eccentric training because we're so much stronger than the eccentric that we fail because of the concentric. That is the weakest of the three phases. So it goes, eccentric is the strongest, is my understanding so far. I could be wrong. Eccentric is the strongest, then it's isometric, then it's concentric. So our muscles, in layman's terms, are much stronger lowering the weight than we are holding the weight. And then we are very, very weak, the weakest in lifting the weight. So then I thought, let's do Hatfield squats. Because that is eccentrics, right? Like I did 240 kilos for a set of 5. There's no way in hell I can squat that with a normal barbell. Absolutely not. For a set of 5, not happening. But the Hatfield, with the help of the arms, allows you to overload the eccentric, right? You control it as much as you can with the lower body. And then on the way up, you use your upper body to get you out of the hole. That's an interesting tool. So today I did Hatfield squats, I did the eccentric training, then I did some isometrics with the leg extensions, and at the end I did concentrics with the leg extensions. Something interesting. So we all train like normal, which is just concentric as the weakest, always limiting our training. But what if you tailor your training to the other phases of training? What happens there? I found something here with isometrics and my hip, and the more I've explored, the better I have felt, right? So it used to really hurt me doing leg extensions in the last 3-4 days that I've been, even last week that I've been messing around with it. It was really hurting me initially. Now it doesn't hurt anymore. So something has changed in the last little while that I've started doing these isometrics. My hip is not bothering me anymore with this. Maybe the slightest tinge, I feel it, but it's nowhere near the pain that I was feeling initially. Maybe my tendons are the trouble here. Interesting. Appreciate you guys, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.